Okay, let's just ask a crazy question. What if we could start over? Like, completely rebuild the internet from the ground up. But this time, build it for people, not just for giant corporations. I know, it sounds a little out there, right? Like something from a sci-fi movie. But believe it or not, there's a company out there trying to do exactly that. So let's dive into this pretty audacious plan to build what they're calling Web 4.0.
But before we get into the how, we've got to ask why. And this question right here gets to the heart of it. Let's really think about this for a second. Is the internet we have today the internet we actually want? I mean, you're endlessly scrolling, you're clicking agree on terms you've definitely never read, you're juggling a million different passwords. Is any of this really working for us? Well, the folks at Linkspreed are betting everything on the idea that the answer to that question is a huge, resounding no. So, what is the fundamental problem? Well, they've got a name for it. They call it the success tax. And it's this kind of hidden flaw baked right into the DNA of the current internet that basically sets up creators, platforms, and even us users to fail in the long run. And this quote right here, it totally flips the whole model on its head. See, right now, every new app, every new service, they have to go out and fight this incredibly expensive war to get users, usually paying giants like Google or Facebook for the privilege. But what if you change the game completely? What if the user wasn't just some prize to be won, but was the actual foundation the network is built on? And this chart just lays it all out perfectly. On the left, you've got the world we live in, Web 2.0. A few big companies control everything. Our personal data is the product they're selling. And if you're a creator, you get hit with that success tax. But on the right, that's the promise of Web 4.0. It's the complete opposite. It's decentralized, it's sovereign, which means you own your own data, period. And creators, they get a 0% revenue share. They keep what they earn.
All right, so that sounds great, but how do you actually do it? How do you make that massive shift from users being the product to users being the infrastructure? Well, it all boils down to one single foundational idea, one key that really does change everything. And here it is. It's called the Universal Integrated Identity, or UIID for short. The simplest way to think about it is like a single, unbreakable master key for your entire digital life. But here's the kicker. It's not an account that some company owns. It's a sovereign identity that you own and you control completely. This is the lever you pull to take back control. So to make that a little more concrete, you can think of it like having a universal Visa card, but for the entire web. It's a single, trusted thing that lets you pay for stuff, prove who you are, all without having to hand over all your personal info to every single website you visit. It's just faster, safer, and way more elegant. But it's so much bigger than just payments. It's also kind of like a digital metro pass for your whole life. Imagine using that same single identity to tap onto the subway, access government services online, and log into your social network. Everything is seamless, and you're always in control of who gets access to what. Okay, so a single universal identity is the key. Got it. But how do you build an entire internet around that one concept? Well, this isn't just some high-level idea. Linkspreed has actually mapped out a really comprehensive 7-layer technology stack, a blueprint for building this new digital world from the absolute ground up. Let's just walk up the stack really quick. It's like building a skyscraper. The foundation, layer 1, that's UIID, the sovereign identity we just talked about. Then layer 2, Vivon, connects that digital ID to the physical world through things like your phone's eSIM. Layer 3 is Arctic. This is a huge one. It's a decentralized cloud. Things storage and computing power that no single company owns. Layer 4, Helion, that's the smart routing that makes sure all the data gets where it needs to go super efficiently. And then we get to the fun stuff we can actually use. Layer 5 is Tribe, which offers all these free software tools. Layer 6 is Atrium, which lets anyone build powerful super apps. And it all comes together with Layer 7, Winix, the actual hardware designed to run on this new web. So that's the tech. That's the blueprint. But a blueprint is one thing. The real question is, does it actually work in the real world? So let's take a look at how all this code actually translates into real communities and real applications.
They are definitely building the tools to make it happen. You've got things like the Web4 Studio, which is basically social network as a service. It lets you launch your very own social network in seconds. And it's all built on top of the stack we just saw. It uses UID for identity, Tri for the productivity tools, and the whole thing is secured by their Arctic blockchain. And this isn't just a small-scale idea. It's being tested at the highest possible levels. Linkspreed has actually put together a full-blown simulation for the UAE, mapping out a future where, by 2027, the UID could actually replace traditional national ID cards. This would create a completely seamless, passwordless digital fabric for the entire country.
And it's not just happening in one country either. Over in Denmark, there's a Denmark 4.0 initiative that's working with almost 100 municipalities to create local social networks to get people more involved in their communities. On the business side, they're working with big names like Wix. The goal is pretty clear. They want this to become the new global standard, the fundamental protocol for how a fair and independent internet works everywhere. So, after all that, what is Web4, really? What's the point of all this? Let's just zoom out one last time and look at the ultimate vision here and the grand strategy behind this, well, monumental effort. First things first, this is not a small niche project. The team behind this estimates the total market size for this new kind of internet at a mind-boggling $1.5 trillion. The ambition here is to fundamentally replace the entire economic and technical foundation of our digital world. And their strategy for how to do it is actually pretty clever. This quote lays out the playbook. You start with layer 1, the identity, and layer 6, the super apps. Why? Because that's where the people are. If you give people back control of their identity and then give them powerful tools to build and connect, you own the user base. And once you have the people, the rest of the ecosystem, the hardware, the storage, it can all follow.
And what's crucial is that this whole strategy brings us right back to the principles we talked about at the very beginning. The end goal isn't just about cool new tech. It's about creating a fair and independent digital future. It's about giving real, true digital sovereignty back to users and creators, building an internet that's resistant to censorship, and finally getting rid of that success tax that holds so many people back.
Honestly, it's one of the boldest visions for the future of the web I think I've ever come across. It's a complete teardown and rebuild. And that really just leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. If someone handed you the keys and said you could build a new internet from scratch, would it look something like this?